Welcome home. I'm Dr. Thema, a minister, licensed psychologist, and sacred artist, and this is Homecoming, a podcast to facilitate your journey home to yourself. While I will provide weekly inspiration and mental health tips, this podcast is not a substitute for therapy. I'm so excited you're on the journey. If you want to request specific topics or share your progress, email me at homecomingpodcast@gmail.com. Also, after you listen, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Let's begin.
Welcome home, Cojourners. I'm glad you're here for another episode of the Homecoming Podcast. And today we have a beautiful topic, a topic I'm excited, really, you all, about all the topics. So I know every week I say that, but I am. I guess that's why I picked them. But today we're going to talk about aging graciously and with gratitude, aging with grace and gratitude, enjoying this new season of our lives. And however old you are listening to Homecoming, I want you to know that in this culture, and when I say this culture, I know we have in a global audience. I will say often in the US, people can feel that as they age, that they are discarded or forgotten about or devalued. And I know in many other places, elders really receive more respect, more appreciation, more esteem, and really have a place of honor and belonging. But I will say, given the global media, and that affects all of us in some ways, that there can be some internal as well as external challenges that can come as we are seeing the years pass. And I want to name that during these times, the issue of aging can also be a challenge because with the pandemic, many of the goals that we may have set for ourselves have been delayed, right? And so, how do I have grace, compassion, gratitude for my years, for my life, for this day, as I continue to age so that I can glory in the wonder that is my life? Let me say that again. I want to glory in the wonder that is my life. That when I consider what I have been through, when I look back over the course of my life, I'm going to use these metaphors and look at the valleys, the mountains, the storms, the pits of my yesterday. And even if I extend that vision and look at where my mother was and where my father was, and look at my grandparents and my great grandparents, it's a remarkable story. And I know that just as I feel my story and my lifeline, my ancestry is a remarkable narrative, I want to say that yours is too. That yours is too, both the years of your own life and journey, as well as when you put your life in context of the lives of those who paved the way for you, that came before you, that it is really remarkable. And we also know that life is sacred, time is sacred, that literally tomorrow is not promised. And so for us to reach each milestone, each age, while our culture can sometimes create this feeling of, oh, you're getting too old, or this fear around time or fear around death. I want to invite you to shift your understanding of what it means for you to be the age that you are, to be able to see the beauty and the resilience, the endurance, of what you have survived, what you have lived through. And I think sometimes we judge ourselves so harshly. So, one of the pointers or strategies I want to share with you, and I believe I've said it in a different episode, is the importance of releasing these false timelines. You know, while being goal oriented can be helpful or healthy in some ways, when we have ourselves um, boxed in to these specific timelines and ages, it can be a setup for disappointment, a setup for feelings of frustration and failure. I was recently watching on Netflix the documentary about Naomi Osaka, and she, I believe, was at her birthday party turning either 22 or 23. And here she is, this champion tennis player, and her family is around day. And she turns to her mother, Mom, are you disappointed? Did you think I would have done more with my life by this point? She's only 22 or 23. And, you know, as I heard her wondering that, I was also filled with compassion that each of us in different ways have felt disappointment either in ourselves or feared that we have disappointed others. Or for some of you, even some people may have told you that they are disappointed in you, which can be, you know, very heavy to carry because we had these ideas, this timeline of what I was going to do by this age. And so I invite you in this season to hold on to the dream, but release the timeline, right? That as opposed to it has to be done by this age, this age, this age, you know, if you still have the desire to do what you desire to do, um, then to leave it on the table. And there are many people who have shared testimonials about getting degrees later in life, publishing their first book later in life, finding love as a senior, adopting children or having children later in life. And so having a second or third career later in life, moving to the country that you always dreamed about living in later in life. And so you are not late. You are not late. You are on time. And the different experiences of your life before this moment prepared you for this season. And I know we can be frustrated and disappointed because you may have been trying very hard and working very hard, and it may, you know, seem like it came a lot easier for some other people. And for some of us, it's true. You know, for some of us, you know, that the reality is we are not on a level playing field. And it was not a straightforward role for many, right? So for some people, there was provision and resources that were in place that kind of helped them to launch and get on their feet. And for other people, it has been a struggle, whether financially, culturally, around gender, all of these pieces, family obligations. And so I want to invite you to not only take your eyes off of the clock and the timeline that you had created for yourself, but I also invite you to shift your gaze away from the timeline of other people. You know, I love when I'm teaching in our master's program that will have some students in the class who are much older. And, you know, they will remark on kind of feeling out of place if most of the students kind of went straight through school and are younger. Um, and it is important to know that what they bring into the classroom and what they'll bring into their career is rich, right? And these experiences that they have gained. And so to know the time was not even fully wasted in the way that you may think. Some of us feel like I wasted years. Well, you gained something in those years. It might have been some painful things, but you gained something. Even in relationships, some people feel like, oh, why did I give so much of my time to that? And now I'm at this age and, realizing I don't have what I wanted to have. Well, you have today, right? You have what you learned from those prior relationships or what you learned from that season of solitude. All of those things help to shape you into who you are and can allow you to show up with even more love, with even more appreciation, with even more expression because you know what it has been like in these other seasons. Yes? So we want to both release false or fictional timelines. And we also want to release comparison, noting that other people were operating on a different schedule, and that's okay, right? So I'm holding on to my aims and my goals, but releasing the rigidity of the timeline. The other piece is to really give yourself gratitude for what you have done with these years. Sometimes with clients, they are so um, locked into the focus on failures. And that's what depression will do. Depression makes you look at what went wrong and makes it hard to acknowledge what went right, right, or what went well. And so I invite you, as opposed to thinking about what you have not done yet or the ways in which you are disappointed and frustrated, can you give yourself some acknowledgement or some appreciation for what you have done in these years, right? Whether that is, now you're turning 30 or 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. We have listeners across the lifespan for you to really value how precious you are, how important you are, and what it has meant for you to get to even where you are. So let's say you're not satisfied or you may not be content where you are, but to really, as we would say, recognize I am not where I was, right? I am not where, so I may not be where I want to be ultimately, but I am definitely not where I was, whether psychologically or even physically. Yes. So we have gratitude and appreciation for ourselves. And then it is also important to give yourself space to acknowledge the truth about whatever you feel as it relates to your age, right? Because I'm not in that camp that would say, you can't have any quote unquote negative feelings, right? You feel what you feel. So if there is some grieving necessary, to give yourself permission to grieve, right? If you say, wow, I'm really mourning who I thought I would be by this time and I didn't make it there and I am disappointed, right? Or I am angry, that things are unfair, that other people maybe didn't have the same struggle or challenge I did. And so to give yourself room to feel that, right? I don't want that to be all that I feel. I don't want to be stuck there. But we also know suppressing emotions, denying emotions, just makes them show up in other ways and can also make them, explosive. So I hope that you will acknowledge the feelings, the range of feelings you have to yourself, and then to supportive loved ones, right? Where if everyone is saying, oh, you're turning the big, whatever that age is, and they're excited, if you are not, to have those in your inner circle who you can share kind of the mixed feelings that you're having about this aging process. And then this piece of radical acceptance to accept the age that I am. I don't want to perpetually lie to others or lie to myself, but I also know that it is truth, right? There is freedom in truth. So I don't need to pretend that it is not happening, right? But I do want to shift my frame about what I think it means. See, sometimes we are operating out of these stereotypes or out of ageism, this idea of like what it will look like to be that age. and we get to define it, right? We get to create it. We can get to get excited about what we will do with that season of our lives, right? It doesn't just have to be what has that age and season look like for other people, but what does it look like for me? Yes. And then I want to be proactive about creating the season that I desire, right? Because sometimes we get to this place of surrender where we say, well, if it hasn't happened yet, it's never going to happen. And then we just feeling stuck, right? So I can acknowledge, wow, I thought this would have happened by now and it didn't, but it is still important to me. And so I'm going after it, right? I'm going after it and enrolling in school. I'm going after it and being open to love. I'm going after it by starting to save. And you may say, wow, I'm really late in life to finally learn about financial literacy or to learn about saving or investing. But even though I wish I knew this decades ago, I know it now. So I'm just going to start now, right? And so to begin to create the season that you would like. Yes. And then I invite you to develop the capacity to cultivate joy, to be able to create joy in your present moment. And that joy is not based in a current circumstance or a certain status in life or certain um, acknowledgement from other people. But what are the things that in my present life, there's one thing to have hope for the future, and I definitely encourage us to be hopeful. And at the same time, I do not want to wait until all my dreams come true before I can have joy, right? So, some of us have lived our lives on hold where you said, well, I didn't travel because I'm waiting for my soulmate. I didn't get a house because I'm waiting for my soulmate. Or I didn't do this because, I'm not rich. And so I just have, so we can put off living for our whole lives. Let me say that again. Some of us are putting off living for the totality of our lives. And I want to invite you to start living now, to start having joy now, to start treating yourself with quality now, that I am deserving in this moment, that I don't have to be everything and have everything in order to have joy, but as a work in progress. I want to have some laughter in my days. I want to have some love in my days. I want to have some peace and some rest and some adventure in my days. And so I'm not going to wait for something outside of me to make that happen. I'm going to activate ringing my joy bells now, right? I'm going to activate that by engaging in activities that I enjoy, spending time with people I enjoy. And that can be one of the gifts of aging is getting more comfortable with your no and your yes, right? That at this big old age I am, that I'm not going to play any more games. I'm spending a lot of time in things that I do not value, don't desire, don't want, and I see it as a dead end. So I have come to the season in my life when I see something is foolishness, I can close the door. I have come to the season in my life when I see that something does not work, I don't have to pretend that it does just to be polite. I have come to the season of my life where I can live from a place of truth. And so, in your hobbies, activities, relationships, and in your service, as you seek to make an impact in the earth, to make an impact, to make a positive impact in your family, that can help you to really see what you have, that you have something to offer with the wisdom you have now, the gifts, the resources you have now. You are enough to make an impact. You are. And so, as I begin to think about how I can help those who are coming behind me, what I have to offer, what I have to share. Those are things that can help to bring a sense of meaning and joy in my life. And as I do that, I'm also very much aware of the importance of taking care of this body temple. And we often will laugh about when you're younger, you might eat whatever, you might barely sleep, and then you're able to kind of get up and function for many people. And as we are aging, these bodies change. And so your sleep patterns may change, your eating habits may change, your metabolism may change, and we don't want to ignore our bodies, right? We don't want to ignore when our bodies are tired. We don't want to ignore when there are early signs or symptoms of an issue. We want to be proactive so that we can get as much life as we can out of these temples and out of these years. And so I invite you to think about your exercise, to think about your nutrition, to think about your rest, because you are a sacred being and you are deserving of that. And so, as we consider all of these ways of taking care of ourselves, I also would invite us to think about our spiritual well being, right? We think about psychologically, I mentioned kind of shifting our mindset and resisting these stereotypes. We talk about physical health, and we mention fiscal or academic or your career, but also in this season, whatever age you are, to think about your spirituality, your spiritual practice, your soul life, that it is not just about accumulating resources. It is not just about trying to get status or titles, but what really matters to you, right? What are your values, right? What are you here for, right? That is inclusive of you and also larger than you. And as we lean into our spirituality, then we can really embrace these times that we are living in, this sacred, beautiful time. And so each of us have these 24 hours, and we're here, and it has been a journey to get here. And so I invite you to grab hold of your time, grab hold of your age with both hands and an open heart, and say to yourself, the world can watch out because this year is going to be the year of my homecoming. I invite your soul to tell your heart, mind, body, and spirit, welcome home.